Gregg, Maya, and Betty are not experts, nor do they claim to be. They're just a bunch of nerds who enjoy talking about movies, shows, and current events. So sit back, grab a coffee, relax, and enjoy a brand new episode of All Queued Up.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of All Queued Up, the review podcast tied to streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, etc., etc. I'm your host, Greg Dietz, and with me always is Maya Dawn Fisher. I don't know why I drew a blank on your middle name there, my apologies. And Betty Badger, and with our guest today, Matt Hurd. How's everyone's week been so far?
Good. Pretty, in the Northeast, we're not Texas. We know what snow and cold is about. Heart goes out to anyone in Texas who's dealing with that shit. But yeah, not bad on this front. Not bad at all.
Yeah,
That's
as
good.
far as Texas goes, it's been since 1929 since they've seen this much snow. So I feel for those people right now myself. And as far as my week has been, I found out I'm finally going to get my hip replacement. So that's good. But
That's
it's
exciting.
in a much worse condition than it ever should have gotten to. So that's bad. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. But I'm just kind of floating and seeing where the water's going to take me at this point. What about you, Maya?
I'm good. Been good. I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing New Horizons, and I've about basically almost accomplished what I set out to do in it. So I'll be moving on to another game soon. But as for the weather, it's dampened a couple of plans that I've had. I need to get out of the house. I realized that I have not been out of the house to go anywhere since October the 28th of 2020.
Ooh. Oof.
That was the last day I physically left the apartment and went somewhere.
Oof.
I step outside on the patio quite frequently, but actually getting in the car and leaving the house, I need to get out. And every time I've wanted to get out for the past 3 weeks straight, it has snowed and iced, or freezing rain and iced up. And it's supposed to come a storm tonight, and we're supposed to get anywhere from 5 to 8 inches
Jesus.
for the next couple of days. And I'm like, damn it, I just want to get out of the fucking house. I don't have anywhere specific that I want to go. I just want to go out. Even if it's just to ride around and listen to fucking music for a couple of hours. That's, it was like, I come in here and I'll listen to music a lot anyway. I got some new speakers for my PC yesterday too, and they sound really fucking good for little $25 desktop speakers. Logitech from Best Buy. They're bumping little speakers, man. They sound really good. But
Nice.
I love being in this room because this is where all my fun stuff is, with the exception of, not all of my fun stuff, but I need to get out. So I'm going a little stir crazy, and I've told Misty, I was like, we got to get out of the house, honey. And it's like, okay, today's the day. Let's go somewhere. Fucking snows. And where I have the prosthetic, I don't have the finite control that I would normally have. So if it's like going out of our apartment, you go down a walkway to the sidewalk to the parking lot. Well, there's a big step and no handrail. Getting down is not so much the issue as getting back up is the issue without the handrail. And if it's icy, I was just like, fuck, I'm not going anywhere today because I'm not going to fall and hurt myself.
Yeah.
It's not worth it. So, it's frustrating. But other than that, I'm really good. I'm trying to
Shouldn't there be a handrail there?
There should be. And there's supposed to have been one installed. And it's been months and months. And they've still not installed it.
That's ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't take that much to install a handrail, and that's against the handicap codes.
Uh-huh. Well, see,
the full Karen.
the quote unquote accessible apartments are all in the first 3 buildings. I'm in the 4th building, and there's a step up. This is not technically an accessible apartment because apparently the only thing that makes those apartments accessible is they don't have cabinets underneath the kitchen sink so somebody could pull up in a wheelchair to wash dishes. That's the only difference.
Wow.
And I'm like, huh, it's a good thing I'm not wheelchair bound because that would suck. But
Jesus.
you know, these apartments aren't that old. They're like 25 years old. You know, they're pretty new, pretty modern for an apartment building, you know, by those standards. It's just unfortunate that, you know, there's no handrail and nobody's ever lived in these apartments that's needed one so much. And I've just been like, yeah, about this handrail, when are we going to get it? Because, you know, it'll make it easier for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, wintertime can suck a fucking dick. I hate it. I hate it.
It's not fun.
Other than that, I'm great.
You took the wind out of my sails about making a joke about weather. I was going to be like, yeah, we got like 4 to 6 inches of sunshine over here, so it's kind of rough.
This is the abnormally long middle finger.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad I'm glad you're all doing well. It's been rough. It's been a whole, like, we're about to hit a year on this fucking pandemic, which is absurd and it should not be this way. But I know that the pandemic hits everyone a little differently, but it's hitting everyone in a hard way.
Yeah.
And so, like, when somebody's like, I'm going through some shit, I'm like, I get it. I fucking get it. So,
I mean, we're fortunate that our way of life wasn't impacted on a day-to-day basis very much like a lot of other people's were. We're very fortunate in that regard. I just want to get out of the fucking house.
Yeah.
I had to close down my sales and tax account for my business because we have not been open since last March.
Yeah.
You know, and I have nothing to report because I'm not selling anything. I'm not making anything because I'm not in a environment where, you know, I can handle the people who come in and put their snotty little hands all over everything and then don't buy it. And I can't sanitize it, especially when, you know, a good portion of it is cloth based or leather based. How do I deal with that? And my attitude when it comes to Karens, it wouldn't be a pretty picture.
Yeah.
I would lose my schnitzels. The first Karen that walked through the door, she'd be out on her ass on them steps. And I'd go to jail, the happy woman, because fuck you. I'm not putting up with your shit. That's just all there is to it. So I'm at home and I'm just being a teacher for the moment. That's it. When it's all said and done, I can open back up. But, you know, it was really hard to make that decision today, but I did it. So here we are. And, you know, hopefully I'll get my hip replaced and the pandemic will go away at the same time that I'm recovering and I can open back up.
There you go.
Nice.
That'll be great. I look forward to that.
Yes, we will be cyber sisters.
On that note, everybody, we're going to get into our discussions of the shows that we watched this week, which we just watched the episode 6 of WandaVision, and we're going to have a long, lengthy, I don't know how long, but we're going to have a lengthy discussion about the finale of The Stand. I was really hoping to have Betty's sister here because she, as far as I can tell, would have been the only one in this group to have liked it. So
I did ask her what she thought about episode 9. She was not a fan. She was not a fan of episode 9. She liked the rest of it. So
okay. She didn't like Stevie King's Coda. Got it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into that because I have a lot to say. But let's go ahead and get into this latest episode of WandaVision that really, really brings a lot more to the table than the past episodes have. It just seems to keep ramping up, right? So in this latest episode, it takes the model of like an early 2000s sitcom, very similar to Malcolm in the Middle. like almost
very
every
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah, that's what it was based off of. Is their beginning of that's how Malcolm in the Middle started.
So the intro I thought was very interesting, but there was something very unique about it. And that was every single character that seemed important had a title that just said their name, except for Pietro. It said Pietro as himself. Now, I don't know if this is an allusion or an alludence to the idea that in those sitcoms, if they had a cameo or a guest star, that's how they were labeled. Like, blah, 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 as blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that he was specifically that. But if you remember in the last episode, we were introduced to the wrong Pietro, an incorrect Pietro. So there was a lot that happened in this episode, for fuck's sake. There was a lot. I don't know where to begin, other than the fact that, like,
well, it was taking place on Halloween.
Yeah, there was that. Oh, the costumes. Fucking comic book accurate costumes, which is great.
Yeah, that was pretty great.
Which just shows you how horrible they would be if they made them that way, which we had already got a glimpse of in the first Captain America movie. Like, if they made his costume like they drew it, how absurdly ridiculous it would look. So it was nice to see the Sokovian fortune teller, which is the Scarlet Witch costume, the original from the 60s, and Vision's iconic red and yellow look. And the kids, Tommy and Billy, they are in the Young Avengers, Wiccan, and what's the other one's name?
Don't remember. I keep forgetting it. It's Wiccan and Speed. Wiccan and Speed.
Speed. Okay.
Yes.
They were wearing costumes that looked like their Young Avengers costumes. And then, of course, Pietro is like, "You don't have a costume." He's like, "Hold on, I'll fix that." And then boom, with the old reminiscent, like, blue and white costume,
Quicksilver gear.
Bolt, the Quicksilver gear, but he's got the blue cutoff shorts on over top of it. Is just so funny to me. And of course, his goofy haircut with the winged hair, the very Wolverine-esque wings.
Wolverine light.
Yeah. That was so funny, though.
I just have to say, like, when I first started watching this show, I was kind of like, okay, I personally love this show because it kind of it's like, take a risk. Don't just show us the same old shit. Like, let's do something interesting, new, and fresh. And it seems to be a big hit. So I'm hoping, like, Star Wars follows that model, or some of these other franchises. Let's do let's think out of the box for a second.
Yeah, I completely agree. This show has. I've talked to a lot of people who really enjoy the Marvel movies in general, and they're really surprised by this because this is the most divorced from a Marvel property that it seems to be. Like, every other movie was action and comedy, and this has just been, like, weird and totally fucking different. Which, if this is the fucking tone that they're setting for this next phase of Marvel, I'm 100% in. Like, keep this shit up because it's so great.
Right. I feel like they need to do a mix. Like, so if they have Falcon and Winter Soldier, more like boom, pop, bow, beat up the bad guy, I'm cool with that because that's what I expect from that. But just to kind of take a risk, like, oh, we could have done this, love story. They're bombing around the world, doing whatever Scarlet and Vision do, but they flipped the script, and the way they did it has been just on point. Like, I can't really find a thing that I would really pick apart up until this point. It's all like minor little scrub stuff, but overall, it's super enjoyable.
Yeah, I think if they it feels like they spaced out the beginning of this show a little too far. Like after episode 2, we were all kind of like a lot of people that I spoke to were just like, I'll keep watching it because, you know, it's 30 minutes of my life. Who cares? But episode 3 ends and people are like, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll watch the next one, whatever. And then by episode 4, that's when people were really hooked. They were just like, I gotta fucking see next week. And then by the episode, like, and now it just keeps getting more and more in that regard. Like the joke that I'm now seeing is that the real villain of the show is the please stand by image. And I'm like, I get that now, but like, and that's so interesting to me that that's how they wanted to present this. What I am also very interested in is, like we discussed this before we were recording, like the next 3 episodes will be an hour apiece. Are they going to be structured like 2 episodes, or will be structured like one whole episode? We know from the trailer that they're going to be taking the model of like a 2010s sitcom, kind of like Modern Family. So will that be the whole 1 hour, or will that be just half of it, and then we get the other part? But there's a lot of theories rolling around. I don't know how many you guys have heard of. But one of the big questions is what and or who is Pietro? So the big one that keeps floating around is that he's Mephisto. If you don't know who Mephisto is from the comic books, I'm sure Matt and Maya know. So this is for Betty and anyone else listening who doesn't know. He is the manifestation of the literal devil. Like he is, in any sense of the word, he is the devil. And he in the comics, like when Wanda creates Billy and Tommy, he wants Billy and Tommy to become strong enough for him to reabsorb them or some shit. It's weird. It gets really strange. I might be getting that a little wrong. But Mephisto fucks with Wanda a lot in the comics, which is why I think people are immediately going for the Mephisto angle. Yeah. The other one is a character named Nightmare. Nightmare being another character that also, like, by the way, Mephisto feeds off of Wanda's power. And so does a character named Nightmare. Nightmare feeds off of her power all the time. So people are thinking that maybe it's Nightmare. But then there's the third option, and that because this story is heavily inspired by the comic book House of M, which we know from interviews from other people and just, in general, if you've read House of M, the through lines. It's all Wanda, 100% her. I hope it's more that than it is the other two. I don't want a big battery.
I think you need to throw Mephisto right out the window. I don't think we'll ever see a movie version, and let me maybe reframe that a little bit, anywhere comic book accurate. Like Mephisto literally looks like your Judeo-Catholic Satan. Like that's his whole character. That's what he looks like. I don't think we'll ever see that in any live action form that's not super fan servicey. I hope it's Wanda. I want it to be Wanda. I want this to be like her dealing with loss, her, possible mental illness, and not like they've never said in the MCU like what her powers are actually. Like, is it warping reality? Is it taking things from time streams? Like, who knows? And
so they've never said it. They've never said what her powers are in the movies, but there's supplement material that does talk about it, and it's literally like it's warping reality probability.
Right.
So when she's like hucking a car, when she's hucking the car, she's not actually hucking the car. She's changing the probability that car's flying that direction.
Right. And then in the books, she had hex powers, and I know they went into it in the books, but to me, this feels like real, like opening the mutant can, as it were, for the MCU. I feel like that it's
I was kind of hoping that the Evan Peters Pietro was a way for them to open the door to have the X-Men come into the MCU, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like it's more of just a wink, wink, nudge, nudge sort of thing. Like, who he was in the other ones. Like, have fun with this.
Right. I don't know, maybe, but they also made a wink, wink, nudge, nudge reference to him being in Kick-Ass?
They did. I caught that.
Yeah. Here's my thing: is every single theory that I have heard and every single theory that we're about to discuss is on the table. Like there is supporting all of it, and at this point, I can't say one thing or the other.
Yeah,
like I agree with you, Matt. I agree with you. I don't think we're going to get Mephisto either, but it can't be taken off the table because we have no fucking clue.
Right, and that's kind of awesome. That's kind of awesome. You know, like I feel like you watch a lot of shows and you're kind of led around by the nose, and I like the kind of almost like an X-Files vibe, but it's not X-Files. It's a less shitty Lost kind of. It's just all over the place, but I don't know what it is, but I love it. How about that?
Yeah, no, I wholly agree. I like the theories that people are coming up with. The commercials are great. At first, like I was like, oh, these are just like pieces of her trauma that they're putting in as Easter eggs or like ha-has. And then with this 5th episode's commercial, there seems to be more there because it's a lot darker, but it also didn't relate to anything. So the first commercial relates to the bomb that her and Pietro were next to that had Stark Industries logo on it, and it was beeping. Yeah. She talks about this in Age of Ultron. And then the next part, the Strucker watch. That makes sense because Baron von Strucker was the one that used the Mind Stone to open up her and Pietro's powers. And then in the 3rd commercial, which was for the soap called Hydra Soap, it's because Hydra was using her for her powers, yada, yada, yada. And then in the 4th commercial, it was Lagos, which is where Civil War.
When you make a mess, you don't mean to, and it's the paper towels.
Yeah. But this commercial didn't immediately, in my mind, relate to anything that she was dealing with, or past trauma, I should say. But people have pointed out that it deals with her current trauma, that she's alone, and that she feels like there's nothing there for her, so she's isolated with just her magic. So that's why that commercial is. However, there are people that are theorizing. More than that. That the first commercial relates to the Mind Stone because, if you remember, people called, like I think it was Tony or somebody else made a passing joke at Vision calling him a toaster.
Yeah. And
the red dot's right on the center of the fucking toaster where the Mind Stone would be on Vision's head. The second commercial has to do with the Time Stone, it being a watch. The 3rd commercial, the Hydra Soak, like at the end, it looks like a blue cube, the Tesseract, the Space Stone. The 4th commercial has to do with the Reality Stone because the liquid was red that it was picking up. And that this new one, has to do with the Soul Stone. I get why that's happening. I don't think that's the case. I feel like people are just kind of stretching.
Wow.
No, I don't know. I think it is that. I really do, because if I'm not mistaken, there's been a little gem-like object in each one, not just in the first 2. I think there was a gem-like object in the last 2 as well. I would have to go back and rewatch carefully, but I think it really is something dealing with the Infinity Stones.
It might. It totally fucking might, but it also might not at all. To me, what's so smart about this show is that people are allowed to do this. I got lucky, by the way, watching this episode when Pietro is talking to Wanda at the fair or whatever, not fair, but the gathering in the town square or whatever.
Yep.
And Vision has like tried to escape the hex. And he looks at her and he says, "It's not like your husband can die twice," which makes no sense for Pietro to know that, by the way. Which makes it even more like, what the fuck? And she like blasts him into a bunch of tombstones, fake tombstones. On Friday mornings, right outside my window, there's a bunch of lawnmower guys taking care of the lawn. It's very loud. So I have to pause the show that I'm watching or whatever the fuck I'm doing so that way I can actually hear it when they move past my window. I paused it right there as he was getting blown back. And I got to see the two tombstones that were right next to him. So the one said Dr. Revis, and Revis is an anagram for virus. Take that for what you will. The other tombstone had the name of one of the people that works on the show. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I Googled her name, and it was like, oh, she worked on WandaVision. I was like, oh, okay, there you go.
Okay.
But at the bottom of the tombstone, it literally read, not on her side. Like, are you kidding me with this shit? That cannot be on accident.
Wow.
That cannot be on accident. So
I think people have too much time on their hands. Because I never even thought about the Mind Stone thing. I was like, but as you're explaining, I'm like, okay, we're not totally grasping at straws, you know, like this is somewhat plausible. Okay. Like you go down the rabbit hole and it's like, well, you know, when they shook hands, did you see his finger was cocked to the left? And if you know the background of him, that he can't drive left because of in issue 35, you know, they go
100%.
way too into the weeds. But they call it
the Zoolander syndrome.
Yeah,
can't turn left.
So there's a moment in the show. That does exactly that, Matt. I'm not even joking.
Yep.
When Vision unlocks Agnes's mind for like a second, there's a shot of the front of her car, and you can see her license plate.
Yeah.
People started going, like, I wish I was fucking kidding with this. People started going, if you take that exact code and put it into like a color thing, it brings up the color red, like the hex. I'm like, stop. Fucking, you have to stop.
Right. You can prove anything to be true if you dig fucking deep enough.
Hey, did you know that the witches in the background of that shot, like, they're around a cauldron because the Scarlet Witch is a witch, and they're witches, and so it's got to be Mephisto.
Right.
I read that. I read that exact thing.
And that's how most conspiracy theories work, because if you dig deep enough, you'll find some bullshit that can apply to it to make it sound convincing. And that's...
But credit where credit's due. When was the last time that we've watched a show that did this, that made everyone go this far?
Watchmen.
Yeah, good point. Didn't think about Watchmen.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. You know, I know my girls wouldn't be into it because they like the past. You know, they're passing fans. You know what I mean, of the Marvel stuff. So I don't think they'd be. I just like, that's my. You know, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning on Friday and throw it on. You know, before I head to work. But yeah, I don't. At this point, as long as it doesn't get cheesy with Mephisto, which I think would be super cheesy. Like, yeah, I'm down for whatever. I'm like literally down for whatever.
I agree. I'm excited to see who. I'm excited for Monica to become Photon. That's gonna be exciting. Like we know that's gonna fucking happen because they've fucking alluded to that too much.
Yeah, when Darcy said your cellular structure has changed on a molecular level twice now from passing through the hex. You know, who knows what will happen if you go through again. And the fact that Darcy was was sucked into the hex as it expanded when Wanda was trying to get Vision corralled back in. I hope to God she shows up in a waitress uniform next week.
People have said that she looks like her character from Two Broke Girls.
Yeah. It's a missed opportunity if they do not do that.
Look, I'm not putting it past this show considering what they did with fucking Evan Peters. Like, right. I'm not putting it past it. I fucking see it happening. Oh my God, there's so much. Like, I'm excited to see who her fucking Monica's astrophysicist friend is. Like,
I don't think it's going to be Reed Richards. In fact, a friend of ours, of mine and Matt's, came up with a theory that it's the Blue Marvel. I can't remember his name because in the comics he is an astro engineer and her boyfriend at some point. And Eric Lambert or Aaron Lambert or something like that. Let me look up the name and I will tell you for sure. But that's his theory, and it actually makes more sense than it being Reed Richards, unfortunately. Although I would love for it to be Reed Richards. I want
It'd be
the
very
Fantastic
cool for it to be Reed.
Four. I want the Fantastic Four to finally be done right.
That's a tough one, Maya. I feel like the Fantastic Four can't carry a movie on their own, but I would love to see them in the universe and like pop up. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I always found that comic to be kind of dull, but I think they could be like a good, world thing. You know what I mean?
I like I told my brother, because my brother fucking can't stand the Fantastic Four, but which is always weird to me because I'm like, I get not liking Sue and Reed. I totally get that. They're not the best characters, but disliking the Thing and the Human Torch, like how? How do you dislike those two characters? I don't get it.
Right. I don't dislike them. I really like the Thing and I really like the Human Torch, but I just don't think that they're dynamic enough to carry a film. I would like to see them be like a touchstone. So like, okay, in the next Miss Marvel, like they deal with the Fantastic Four, and then maybe, the Guardians of the Galaxy are doing space shit and they're like, oh, fucking Reed, what are you doing back here? Like have them be like a consistent through all the movies where it's appropriate versus,
right.
I
mean, we know that they're going to get their own movie. Like we know that they're going to get their own movie because of the Disney thing that when they announced all those fucking Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But it needs to be done in a better way than we've had already.
Right.
I think one of the aspects that you have to bring into it is, let's take Spider-Man, for example. I'm really happy that this universe of Spider-Man didn't do the whole like, oh, Uncle Ben died and origin and yada yada. Like he was just there. He was just a part of the world. No offense or buts. We all fucking know his history. We don't need to dive into it to that extent. So if the Fantastic Four are introduced into this world via other properties that they're going to be making into shows and movies and stuff, and then like their movie takes place after their accident, I'm 100% into that.
Yeah.
I just don't see them done right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Maya. You're absolutely right. Those Fantastic Four movies are not great. Not great.
No, and the Josh Trank one's an absolute train wreck.
Is that the latest one? The
2015 version. Yeah. It's awful.
I never even. I didn't.
By the way, that aerospace engineer, whatever, Adam Brashear, he is the Blue Marvel. It's kind of similar to Sentry in the comics. So
okay.
If she brings on a guy named Adam Brashear, then I see that being him more than Reed Richards.
Oh, gotcha.
But I would not be disappointed if it's Reed Richards.
I was gonna say that. I lost my train of thought. There was something I was gonna say. God damn it, it's gone. Whatever, it's gone. Well, I'm just enjoying this show. Betty, you've been very silent because we're all talking over you.
I was getting ready to throw it to her.
I mean,
what are your thoughts?
Really, the only things that I'm wondering is how's she going to keep this up? We've seen that she already is having trouble controlling people not in her immediate purview. She's extended the boundary because, she wanted to save Vision. How much of Vision is her? How much of Pietro is her? How much of these boys are her? Because, Vision's dead, but he's also not dead. Pietro's dead, but he's also not dead. And these twins it's like parthenogenesis. I mean, where did they fucking come from? So I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out when they talk her down, talk her back into a real reality, not what she's created. what's going to happen to these characters when that world disappears. That's my curiosity. Jeff was thinking that Agnes had a bigger role in all this simply because of how she did act in the last one when she first came in. And she's like, you want to do that again? And Wanda's like, what? Yeah. And she's like, we didn't do it right. You want to do it again? She obviously, apparently several of them understand that what's going on is not reality. They're playing along because they have to. And Agnes, I don't know. There's something different about her. And I don't know if she was an infiltration from maybe Hydra or Sword. I don't know. But there is something different about her to me that's just throwing me a little bit.
There's a theory going on. Sorry.
It's all right. Sorry, Maya. You go ahead.
Well, there's a theory out there that Agnes could be Agatha Harkness, which is like the mentor to Wanda in the comics. Elderly mentor. There's a possibility. So there's that theory. But we'll see. What were you going to say, Matt?
I found that part to be very disturbing. I don't know why. Like I've seen disturbing. Like it was just like, do you want to do that? Like it was to the level that I was like jarred by it. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, that's that. And it wasn't like it was like this jump scare or what. It just like it was just one of those things where I got the chills. You know what I mean?
She was an NPC showing that she knows she's more than an NPC. She knows what's going on. She knows she's in the Truman Show, the Wanda Show. She knows this. And she didn't freak out like the dude that he works with freaked out when he cleared his mind. He was freaking out. Agnes was just kind of slowly going downhill like an Alzheimer's patient. I mean, she wasn't affected by this in the same way. So I'm curious if she does have a bigger role, because she is an actress that we all like. She's been in some great stuff. I love her acting. I think she's been great in this role. But I think just my perspective is honestly wondering more about the characters and what's going to happen to them when this fantasy does come to its inevitable end. That's what I
there was like there was a question that was proposed by Petro in this that was like, he basically asked Wanda, like, what did she do with all the kids? Because in episode 4,
there are no kids.
Vision says like there's no kids. Suddenly there's kids in not episode 4, episode 5, and then suddenly in episode 6 there are kids now. So what did she do? Like, did she literally take over a town and like the kids are just asleep somewhere? Like what the fuck is going on?
Maybe kids aren't affected as easily. Again, when he was walking through the town and he saw, all these people just standing there, like, waiting for a cue, just standing there. It obviously tells me that she's either losing her abilities or she's getting tired. And what she just did, expanding it, is going to make her wear out so much quicker.
Yeah,
I like how you phrase that. They're standing there waiting for their cue. I didn't. I wasn't viewing it like that at all. I was looking at it as these are people on the fringe of her control. They're not waiting for a cue. They're stuck in that like point of limbo between being controlled and having their own free will. But it makes more sense when you say it like that, waiting for their cue. I did not think of it that way.
Yeah, because if you kind of think about Wanda's power having a limit, right? Why would you bother, like, for all intents and purposes, animate these side characters when they were off screen? Like wow.
I mean, that's basically what I see is going on. As long as they're not in her immediate purview, they're like, if you're playing Skyrim, what is the people in Skyrim doing when you're not around? I mean,
right.
that's kind of what it's like.
So
I see it like that.
I think you're right, Betty, except for one aspect. I don't think it's her immediate purview. I think it's what she perceives as Vision's immediate purview. I think that's the difference there.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Because when he goes to work, he's interacting with people. She's also interacting with people, so it's anybody within both of their immediate vicinities.
Yeah,
and
she's
now the
keeping
kids.
up that reality for the both of them, and the family unit. But at that gathering on the last episode, she thought he was there. She didn't know where he was. If she'd known he was out there goofing around with the NPCs just waiting on their cue, she would have activated them, I think.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
Because he knows something ain't right, and I don't even know what he is. I don't know if he is a memory of himself or if he is just simply part of her.
I think that's another clever editing trick that they did was that in the scene towards the end when Petro makes that comment to her, like, your husband can't die twice, the movie that's playing on the background is Night of the Living Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's zombified her husband, essentially.
Right.
I don't think that's an accident in terms of editing. It's like the episode 4 when Jimmy Woo says something about like he walks over to Darcy and says this new director is kind of an asshole or something, and she was like, yeah, he's a bit of she's gonna say dick, but it cuts immediately to him and says terrorist. Like, there's something with the fucking the director's shield. What is it?
Right.
Is he Hydra? Like, there's no reason to have edited the words literally saying he's a bit of a terrorist unless it was just a fucking accident. It doesn't exist in the show. But,
I mean, I don't think it's as deliberate as, I think you're overthinking that one a little bit, but I could be wrong. But he's definitely, I don't think he's the antagonist per se.
No, I agree with you, but I think that there's something there that we don't know about him yet. I think that's why.
Absolutely. He's shady for sure.
Also, all of this could be a massive misdirection, pointing us in a direction that we don't need to be focusing on. Where when we get the big reveal, it's completely fucking going to sideline us because we're all thinking in these other directions. Like,
right.
Well, any thoughts on where you think it's going to go next week? I mean, because now we've got Monica back in it. I don't know how many people got sucked into this, but we know Monica's in it. We know Darcy's in it. Are they going to have...
Monica's not in the Hex. She got away.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
okay.
Her and Jimmy Woo got away.
Okay, well, we know that...
But they're planning on going back into it.
Yeah, we know that Darcy's in it. Is she going to have more free will than, say, some of the other people? Because we're going to be coming to a climax very soon when it comes to Wanda's mental health and stability. I mean, we're hitting that point. We're building up. What just happened to Vision is the start of that upward climax. And I'm sorry, I talk like a school teacher, but that's what I've been doing for the past 5 years.
That's fair.
So
I honestly think, speaking on that, I think that this next week's episode's commercial will deal with like an anti-depression pill.
Yeah,
it'll be something in that.
What I would, if I was writing this show, and this is going to sound wacky and kooky, I would write it so the final reveal is this all happened during the snap. And all the people, like the named characters, were everybody in that world is snap people.
Well, that'd be interesting.
People that got taken by the... They could.
Well, I mean, maybe, but Didn't they show in episode 4 that people were being snapped back into reality, and we saw that?
I mean, you would have to pull for that. You would like really have to do some mental gymnastics.
Oh yeah.
But when I first started watching the show, that was my theory, that it all happened during the snap.
That was one of the questions that we did have early on, is like, when does this take place? Pre-snap, post-snap, during the snap? Is this that she is created while she was in the snap? I mean, and we've seen that it's post-snap, but what if not everybody that's in there is post-snap? Because I don't know. We'll see where it goes. All I know is I'm excited.
Yep. Same.
Yeah. Because that's what's great, is like, even though we're talking about all these theories, everything is still on the table. We have fucking no idea. It's great. It's so great in that regard.
Except for Mephisto, hopefully. Hopefully that's not on the table.
I mean, it is, but I'm hoping that it's not the case.
I think it's sitting at the kiddie card table. Like, it's totally like, but it would be a big stretch. And if it is Mephisto, they're not going with that OG design. They're just people would lose their goddamn minds.
It would be bad for your Christian viewers that you don't want to lose. It'd be bad for the fact that literally it's against the law in China to show the devil in media, and that's like their second biggest market. So not a good idea.
Why?
I don't know.
I thought they didn't believe in such things. I don't understand.
I mean, the majority of the country is, not religious officially.
So what's the big deal about showing Satan?
I honestly don't know. I just know that like the actual Satan red devil comes. Say that again?
So now you've given me something that I want to learn about.
Yeah, I'm going to look this up later.
Why there's no depiction of the devil in Chinese media.
I mean, I know they've taken Santa Claus and stuck him on a cross before, but I didn't know this whole devil band thing.
They've changed like other Marvel films too in the past. Like there was, I don't have an example off the top of my head, but they've had like Disney has had to completely re-edit certain movies so that way it doesn't show certain things to their audience.
Chinese friendly.
Makes me wonder if in the X-Men First Class if they had to change Azazel.
Probably, yeah.
Because the red version of Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
Basically, is the easiest way to describe him.
Kind of demonic looking.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have anything else they want to add about this episode?
Just give me more. Give me more. Give me more.
Definitely.
Yep. We know for a fact that the next. Yeah. Oh.
So we're gonna grade.
Yeah. I'll fucking jump out there. A+. Great episode. Gave us plenty of mystery. Answered a few questions and makes me want fucking episode 7 like the second I finished episode 6. So congratulations. I'll throw it to Betty.
I definitely give it an A+. I love the fact that at the end she blew it up, and now Darcy's in it because I love Kat Dennings. I'm a big fan, so definitely A+. I'm very much looking forward to this week's episode, which should be on the day this airs. So
yeah,
can't wait to watch it. And what about you, Matt?
I'm very stingy with my scores in everything. So I'm gonna give it a solid, like it's right there. Like I don't know what else they could have done to give it like an A+. Maybe like I don't know, like show like Rhino in the back, or like just like Juggernaut peering behind a little thing. Some like it would have to be like that level to give.
You want some photobombing?
Yeah. Just Juggernaut, like, hey, how's it going? And then just dip back and never explain it. But a solid A, and I give me more. And To be honest, I'm a comic book fan from way back in the day, but I never gave a shit about Wanda and Vision. Like they were just kind of, yeah, they're kind of there. They're doing Avengers shit, but yeah, give me more.
Maya?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid A as well. It was just on the cusp of a little bit, like Matt said, seeing the kids' trick or treat costumes. I think it would have been cool to see some other throwbacks to other heroes or something, like kid versions of like 60s, 70s era costume.
Doc.
Yeah, anything MCU Marvel related would have been awesome. But
honestly, I didn't pay attention. I didn't even notice.
I'd have to go.
Like
I'd have to go back and rewatch to see if there is. But that would be something to see. That would help push it towards that way. It's really, really good though. But I'm not gonna, I can't yell A+, perfect, excellent, because it wasn't quite perfect. But there are things that have been brought up during this conversation that make me want to watch it again and apply that outlook to it. So I will definitely be looking at it again. But yeah, it's a solid A though. It's really fucking good.
Two things real quick before we move on to the stand. I had to look up real fast why the Devil's banned. He's not banned, but what he is he's considered like R-rated material. So if Disney were to try to release WandaVision in China, which, by the way, Disney Plus isn't in China, so the Chinese people haven't even fucking seen the show yet. But if they were to release it in China, they don't want it to be rated R. They want it to be, for kids to be able to watch it. So that's what it is. It's not that he's banned. It's that he's mature rated material.
Man, here in America, we expose our kids to the devil at like newborn age. Take them into church. Meet the devil, baby.
He's everywhere.
Right? He's always watching you.
Right.
So is God. So mind your cues.
You've been born with the devil in you, so we got to get you baptized to get him out of you.
Yeah.
Speaking of the devil,
hell was afraid I'd take over.
So, speaking of the devil, because we were talking about Mephisto, Randall Flagg. Let's go ahead and dive into The Stand, the final episode, episode 9.
Thank God.
Coda, friend. Yeah, I'm so done with the show.
I'm
so happy it's over. And
I found myself liking it less and less as each week progressed. The first few episodes, I was really enjoying it. Then I was enjoying it for what it was. Then it was just like, okay, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Wow.
Yeah, it dropped off real quick for me because, again, we thought that we were going to get more character depth, more involvement there. But it weirded me out from the very beginning because it was so different from the original book, which Matt has also read, and I was like, because I kept watching and go, is my memory that bad? It's like, because I don't recall this at all. And then they finally got the guy who kind of started it all at I think it was the second episode they showed him and his wife leaving the base. And I was like, really? I mean, the back and forth, man. And it just, from the very beginning, though, it really, really just, it struck me how different it was from not only the book, but the original miniseries. And I was really, really trying to hold on to that optimism that we were going to see something different and unique in a good way. And what we got was different and unique in a horrible way. So
before we get too deep into this, because I do want to hear both Matt and Betty's perspective since they read the book. I'm a big advocate for watching something and giving it its own opinion on its own merit. Was it good outside of the source material? So when we talk about comparisons, I want to leave it there. I don't want to talk about this show sucks because it didn't follow the book. I want to say it sucked because of this, which the book did, or something. Like, I don't want to make it seem
Right.
like
Yeah.
like that
Oh yeah,
the
it's
book is
not
better.
that. I was totally open to the, possibility of doing something different with it that would add something to the story.
Right.
But what they didn't add anything to the story. If anything, it made the whole story that much weaker. And there's
Yeah.
so many great things they could have done to add to the story and make it more unique and more in line with modern times than what they did end up doing. And I'm sad for Stephen King that he was all about episode 9, because I'm sorry, episode 9 sucked. Dude, you didn't add anything there at all that I didn't need to know.
I love discussing comparisons. I love going and sitting there like, I've read the source material, so I get to watch the fucking adaptation, and I get to have the discussion about like what the differences were, not in a good or bad sense, but just what they were. And I feel like, and I kept saying this to my parents who seemingly enjoyed the show, a lot didn't make sense, a lot didn't fit, and I feel like the book does a way better fucking job at making me give a shit about these characters. So that's what I'm excited to hear from both of you.
So
I'll just, you both are fans of the book, but
I'll just say it. The Stand is in probably
both of you don't talk at once.
Matt was talking. Can you not hear it?
Yeah, The Stand for me is in my top 5 books like of all time. I've read that book probably 11 times at this point, maybe.
Wow.
I've read it about 6, so you're way above me.
Read it or listened to it on Audible or whatever. So I love the source material. And I'm with you, Greg. I don't judge a media switch, like a book to a movie to a book. Like, they're separate entities to a degree. This was just not good. They changed things. I didn't have a problem with some of the changes they made. It's all the stuff that they left out. Like, I don't give a shit about any of these characters, really. Like, I don't care.
I feel like a lot of the characters that they focused on in this were not as deeply focused on in the book. And even though they did focus on them in this, they didn't bring anything new to the table. They took a somewhat flat character to begin with and just made them a little bit flatter. By trying to draw it out, because we didn't see much of Stu. We barely even saw Franny. And
fucking Nick.
Yeah.
Like, how do you take one of your main point of view characters and you're like, okay, there's just this mute guy that like caretakes Mother Abigail, like, neat, like, okay. I think the acting choices in a lot of the instances were great. I think the kid who played Harold did an excellent job.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, like, I wish I got more from that character. Larry fucking knocked it out of the park. I just really, if I was going to grade the series as a whole, it's lucky to get a D. Lucky.
Yeah. I was going to say that one of the big things for me after watching this show with my parents and whatnot was we were talking about certain characters, and I said the craziest part to me was at the very end, the crew that's walking to Vegas. Legitimately, I don't know who the fucking that woman was. I don't know her character at all.
Right. Literally, she was there again. She was the caretaker of Mother Abigail. In the book, he's not it's a man, which is they gender swapped. It doesn't matter. It's all good.
It does not, yeah.
He was with Nick, and he was buddies, and he was part of the council. And he had a character. He was like, here it is. It's just like, here's this Native American woman named Ray that we've seen 3 fucking times in 7 hours. Like, and now she's like, it was just bad. It was the pacing was bad. The story arcs that they chose to focus on was bad. Like, You
the
fucking killing
casting
me over.
choices were some of them bad because
Really? Who
honestly,
did you find?
I didn't
Franny
like
Stone.
James Marsden. I didn't like James Marsden as Stu because he just didn't read
Mhm.
as Stu to me. I mean, he was
Right.
you know, I mean, Stu in my mind was always just a little bit more rugged.
Mm-hmm.
And while they're marching across this wasteland, they don't have a mark of dirt on them. And this motherfucker's carrying a razor and managing to use water every day to shave his freaking face and shine his shoes. What the hell was that shit? James
Can I point
Marsden kind
something
of
out?
killed the whole Stu vibe for me.
Can I point something out from my perspective that, because again, that I haven't read the book, didn't watch the miniseries. The fuck did he do?
Nothing.
What the fuck did he do?
He broke his leg.
He was there, and then broke his leg. And if it were for Tom Cullen, and I guess God, that wouldn't have, he would have died. He would have died in that fucking ditch.
Yep.
And you don't even see how Tom really knew where to find him and save him, because that was, and it was that not due to Nick's spirit in the book?
There's a whole thing that they left out about Tom and Stu getting back to Boulder, and it's winter time, and they have to and there's a point in the book where it's a Tom Cullen perspective, and Nick is dead and helps Tom find the correct medication for Stu, and they cut all that out, and it was so important to the character of both Stu and Tom. Why did you cut that out?
Disappointing. I mean, all you see is, the shape of Tom coming into that culvert, that, and that's it. I was like, this is where you're leaving this. You're not going to go any more into it. You're just going to let it go at that.
Right.
I mean, I think honestly, instead of telling the coda of Franny's story, he should have just finished out the fucking book. I don't know what else to say. He should have just finished out the fucking book and told that story somewhere else, because it didn't fit. It didn't add anything at all to the series. I mean, not just to the book, but it didn't add anything to the series. I still felt very low and disappointed when everything was said and done.
So what I read online was that coda is actually in the 1990 version of the book or some shit, like the extra 200 pages. That's what I read online. Yeah.
I was the original, so I didn't even know that copy existed. I got mine as a teenager from Mr. K's.
Yeah, abridged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. A big problem I had with not only the characterization, or lack thereof, it's like they made these carbon throwaway Lloyd has a story arc. Lloyd wasn't just this fucking asshole. He was completely loyal to Flag, but he saw things going tits up, and he's kind of like, well, his
loyalty started wavering, didn't it?
Well, not until the very, very end. Other people were like, hey, let's get out of Vegas, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, he let me out of jail. And he was a flawed character, but he was also on some level sympathetic. In this, they just
was human.
Yeah, they just made these carbon copy fucking bad. It's just fucking lazy,
I know Trash Can Man was just sorely wasted.
Oh, so badly. So he was one of the most interesting characters in the book, I thought. Because his mind was twisted.
Hearing you guys talk about this, and then the comparisons to the book and the original miniseries, and hearing my dad talk about it, and seeing things online, I have come to the conclusion of this. Ben Affleck was wanting to do this a long time ago, but he wanted to make it a trilogy of films. He wanted to make it 3 movies. After watching this 9-episode series, this show should have 100% have been 3 seasons. It would have been probably told 1,000 times better.
At least 2. It definitely needed more time to be done properly and be done well.
Right.
It's like what they did with Under the Dome. You know how they managed to stretch out Under the Dome?
Yeah.
Horribly.
Yeah.
They should have done that quite well with The Stand. The Stand could have very well been a good 3-season series and rounded it out and ended it well and gotten in depth into those characters and made people like Gregg and Heather want to read the book.
Right.
But they blew it. They just blew their shot. Instead, they wasted that on Under the Dome, which was a great book, great story. I loved it when it came on. I was like, oh, this is fabulous. They did such a good job. I love how they've changed these certain elements. But then the second season came and I was like, oh, shit's getting a little weird here. And then the third season came and I was like, nope, I'm out. I'm done with crazy, alien queen bee. I can't.
Right.
I'm just done. My, suspension of disbelief has just kicked in right now. So
Right.
It's kind of impressive to take a story this beloved, because when I talk to Stephen King fans, The Stand always gets brought up. Always gets brought up. Because it's one of his most popular works. The fact that you take this story that's so beloved and just do this with it is mind-blowing to me. Like, I've seen some bad adaptations. I was talking to my mom the other day about how, like, an adaptation of a movie that is good, but to an extent, is the adaptation of We Can Sell It For You Wholesale, or We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale, which is Total Recall. And then there's the adaptation of the adaptation, which came out in 2005, which is awful. Because it's just a bad movie by itself. And if you read the book, We Can Remember For You Wholesale, you read you watch the movie, and then you watch the adaptation in 2005, this is a perfect example of how to properly do an adaptation while kind of caring about the source material in a way. And this, to me, is an example of how not to do it. It's crazy to me that the miniseries in 1990 had, what was it? Was it 95? 95. Okay. 95. It had less time. It had only 6 hours to tell the story, and did a better job at making people give a fuck about the characters than this did in 9 hours.
Yep.
Like, that's fucking nuts to me. That is absolutely, like, I want to go, like, if there was a way to watch that miniseries, I 100% would.
I think they'll it's got to come to streaming on something.
You can rent it for like $5, but that's the only way you can watch it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's worth the $5, honestly. If you don't want to read the book, it's worth the $5. I mean, I really think that the original miniseries that they did in the 90s was not a bad adaptation at all. It wasn't perfect to the book either, but it was a really good made-for-TV adaptation.
Right.
Yep. Well, that's my argument, is that I just didn't give a shit about any of the characters. Not a single character. Like, how do you do that? My favorite part in the whole thing was watching Amber Hurd hurl herself off that fucking balcony and splat the pool. That was my favorite fucking part of the whole thing. I cared a little bit about Harold when he went over that ravine and got stuck like that.
I loved it when he got impaled, and I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I felt a little bad for him. For Amber Heard, I was like, nah, bitch, die.
Harold had the most character development. Harold was the most rounded the entire show.
They did the best job with him out of all the characters that they had to play with. They did the best job with him. And I'm glad. He was a great character, but so are the others, and you failed with them.
Yep.
You failed.
100%. 100%. As a side, talking about Harold, he was also in It, the first It, not the first one, but the recent It movie when they were kids. He was one of the bullies.
Oh, was it?
That's right. He was. That's right.
Like that. I hope that kid gets more work. I really hope he gets more work.
Wasn't he the one that got gutted in the sewers?
I think he was so. Patrick Hockstetter was I think, but he was one of the bullies in. So that's kind of interesting.
That's fun. He gets to do one good adaptation and then a bad adaptation.
But he was the best part of the bad adaptation, arguably.
Yeah, You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I'm dumbfounded by this. Like, how do you make an adaptation this bad? I think
there were too many voices involved in the creative process of making this miniseries. Too many directors. Too many directors, too many executive voices saying we want this, this, and this is probably the case, because that happens sadly a lot of times in a lot of things. Too many people saying and declaring that certain things have to be this way and certain things have to be that way.
Too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, when you have one or two cohesive visions that are working together, things seem to come together a lot better than let's put your spin on this one and your spin on this one and your spin on this one, and all right, and then we're gonna. Has anybody ever heard of this person? No, we're gonna give them a shot and let them do one. And how about this washed up person? Let them do one. And
I've seen better adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft shit, and that's saying a lot because nobody does good adaptations of H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah. I mean, I'd actually probably rate The Color Out of Space better than I would rate this miniseries, and that's pretty low, man.
I was beyond disappointed.
Yeah.
When it was all said and done, I was just. And Misty, she comes from. She's never read the book. She never saw the original miniseries. She enjoyed this, and I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah." She was invested in it, but she said she did wish she cared about the characters more, and the ones that she did care about was the ones she felt she got the least from. Like she didn't. She felt we needed a lot more from Nick. She felt we needed a lot more from Tom Cullen. And
I felt like I was supposed to care about him, but I didn't.
I was like, there should have been a hell of a lot more from Franny too. She was more than just a pregnant vessel. She actually had a very large part in the council, and she had a voice. She had things to say and input to give. And in this, all she was look, the pregnant lady who survived the apocalypse.
So that's actually very clear to me, because I want to point this out that in this episode, she does something that made absolutely no fucking sense to me because of how it was structured. When she's stuck in the well, and I keep looking at my computer, my cameras are here. When she's stuck in the well, and Randall Flagg is talking to her on that island, and he says, "You just have to let me in. Like I just have to kiss you, and I can help you." And she's like, "No, go fuck yourself, man," and leaves. Her attitude towards him told me that there was a history, told me that there was something more there that we didn't see.
Right.
We didn't see it. It's just this weird reaction towards somebody that, from my perspective, how the fuck do you know who he is? Right. We're just supposed to take it like, what the fuck was this?
That's so the thing. While you were watching the fact that Franny and Stu and Larry and Nick and all them were having visions of Mother Abigail, they weren't just having visions of her. Trust me, Flagg was coming to them just as much as she was. It was kind of a battle for these people's souls, because they were going to be the ones standing at the end of the apocalypse when everything came to a head, which is why it's called The Stand. So there's a big story there that you totally did not get to see. Them battling it out in their minds with Flagg. Again, we mentioned the fact that in the book, Mother Abigail's living it out in her 90-some years on a farm that she ain't left, but this Mother Abigail's hanging out in a nursing home. What?
Right. You totally took the teeth out of her, because she's like, I make my own. Like, there's a big line in the book that she says, she's like, it's a big, like, I bake my own bread. You know what I mean? Like, it's like this whole. They just did disservice to character after character. when I first started watching it, I was like, okay, they're not doing a linear thing. All right, that was fine. Like, you could have still told a good story, but you just didn't. Like,
Yeah.
I can't really say, like, where did the time go? You know, I felt Larry had some character development, but that was about it. That was really, it was like Larry and Harold.
As a matter of fact, what's really funny is if you go back to the episode of our podcast where we watch episode 2, there's a little bit of an argument. There was a little bit of a joke thing that I don't like to, because I thought that the episode was too much Larry and not enough other characters. And I think this goes into line of, why did we spend that much on Larry but not the other characters? Why did we get to know him so well when in reality we needed to know everybody that went to Vegas way better? We needed to know who the fuck. Sorry.
It feels like they had plans to make this bigger, and then they had made this huge, possibly, this is my theory, maybe they'd made this huge script. Things were going to get told, you know, and we were going to see just what I was hoping for. And then they were told, nope, we got to condense it. So take out your best parts. And that's what they did. And it left us with a very incongruent story that went fizzle. It fizzled out.
I would 100% agree with that, Betty. I think they have the source material. They saw the mini, and it was like, okay, we're going to make X amount of episodes, or it's going to be so many hours long. And then some fucking bean counter probably said, oh, well, you know, we got to cut the time down by, you know, 4 hours or whatever the instance was. And then this is what we got, where it's like, okay, we're supposed to give a shit about Nick, but literally all Nick does is hang out in Mother Abigail's house, and, you know, like, it's just bad.
Nick is
and
blind.
I do agree with
you. All I saw Nick do was be deaf and get blown up.
Right, pretty much. You know, and he found Tom. Like, and there's a whole thing there's a whole, like, interaction that's, like, very heartwarming, and, like, it's just great. It's well written. It's great. And there's this whole relationship between Nick and Tom. And then the line that they left out that they could have just added this line is like when Stu's leaving to go to Maine, he tells Tom, he's like, hey, look, you know, you tell anybody about, you know, you're friends with Stu Redman. And if you need me for anything, Tom, whether I'm on the other side of the world, I'm going to come running. And it's like they just didn't have, like this is easy, folks. What are you doing?
Joke. No joke. I was expecting something like that. I was expecting Stu to walk up to fucking Tom, and he didn't. He full on just went.
Take care, buddy.
What the fuck?
See you later. Stu Redman out.
Maya, are you glad to see the end of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we all are.
I think Affleck would have crushed it with a trilogy of films. I think he would have crushed it, and it would have made money. It would have told the story that, you know, book people want, and it would have just been entertaining. Something that
done 3-hour movies, same amount of time, and done a better job, I feel.
Yep, 100%. And the one of the things that
the thing I kept hearing about.
The thing that got me was that Captain Trips just happened, and it was like, okay, like, no big deal. It's like in the book, like, before they even get anywhere, it's like a quarter of the book is just setting up Captain Trips, getting kind of grouping together, and kind of, you know,
showing you what happens, how we get to the point to where we formed this group.
Right.
You know, I mean, none of that. I mean, we did get to see some pretty, you know, gnarly looking bodies, but you know, that it was just such a blip in the whole entire thing. And it's like, you know, Captain Trips was barely even part of this miniseries. You know, it was it was like, okay, this happened and that's how we're here. Bam. You know, and it's like, no, there was a bigger story to how Captain Trips, you know, hit everyone and how it became a thing and worldwide and what they were trying to do and blah 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 blah. And it was, yeah, that's what really confused me in that first episode. I was like, what's going on here? Because it wasn't. Yeah, and I was really hoping they were going to do something, and they just didn't. They just didn't pull it off.
No,
it was a grave disappointment.
I also want to point out how the ending of this is really fucking like frustrating to an extent from a storytelling standpoint, because you have this great setup of Franny and Stu's kids basically building an army over the next 100 years or so, while Randall Flagg is on an island building his army. And you're like, this is a great fucking idea for like to continue the story, and you're just like, oh, this is how it ends. This is just how it ends. Okay, cool.
Okay, yeah. The whole ending on 8, not 8. When he ends up on that island, y'all think he was on North Sentinel Island? Because that's where I think he was. He somehow ended up on North Sentinel Island, and
I don't know what that relates to.
They don't like. Don't you know where North Sentinel Island is? It's that place where they keep trying to go. Like that kid went to try and teach Christianity, and they speared him.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's when he showed up, and there was those natives there wearing those red things that I've seen them wear from the helicopter video. I'm like, how did he end up here? Was this a trick from God? Because that's really funny. Yeah.
So I know people might have a problem with the ending where it's like the hand of God, and I know Maya last episode was pissed about that's what happens in the book. Whether it's a good ending, we can debate that, but also the final thing in the book, one of the final like blips in the book, is that Randall Flagg reappears naked in front of these tribes people.
Yeah, but the way they pulled it off, it was didn't you
awful.
Think the North Sentinelese though? That was the first thing that ran through my mind. He's on North Sentinel Island.
Yeah, they're gonna fucking jam him up with a bunch of fucking arrows, and then he makes the dude's head explode.
Yeah.
So I
like, worship me.
Yeah, like come on.
I have something funny to tell you guys, because it relates to the hand of God thing. So I got really, really bored at the end of episode 7. And I was just like, I hate this show. It's really bad. What happens? What the fuck happens in this story? So I go and I look it up. I look up like a synopsis, if you will, like that just tells the whole plot from beginning to end. And I get to the part it's like, oh, and then the nuke blows up. It blows up all of fucking Las Vegas. Everyone in it's dead. Yada yada. And then the coda that was added was, Franny and Stu go to Maine. Yada yada yada. And then he ends up on an island, done and done. I was like, okay, so I see how the last like 2 episodes are going to play out. And a lot of I work with my dad every day, and we were talking about it. And he's like, there's no way that it ends after the nuke. There's no way that it ends, because there's all this extra story to tell with Stu and Tom and like Franny and the baby. And I was like, really? He's like, oh, there's a ton of story left. And I'm like, that seems so weird. Like the story should end after the bomb. Like how much more do you have to tell? I was like, I'm pretty sure it's going to end after these 2 episodes. He's like, no, it doesn't make any sense. And I said, well, what happens in the miniseries, Dad? Like, tell me. He was like, so this and this and this, and the trash man comes with the nuke, and it's a big deal. And then like, Randall's so pissed off that he's just like, he's zapping things. And I was like, okay. And like the hand of God like comes in and literally redirects the lightning at the bomb. I went, hold the fucking phone. What? And he goes, yeah, the actual hand of God. I went, I hate that. I fucking legitimately hate that. And he's just like, I don't know what to tell you. And so we're watching this, and I see the hand of, and I was like, ugh. So yeah, like
I understand why people are upset, and a lot of King fans don't like that ending. And to be fair, it's like I equate The Stand with Lord of the Rings. It's not so much what happens at the very end; it's the journey to get there that's really the beautiful part of that book. In my opinion,
I totally get that.
And to be fair, as a King fan, like my man has a hard time ending a book.
Yeah, it does.
I love him to death, but
he loves his stories. It's hard to say goodbye. Yeah. I get it.
I feel like sometimes he could think about how to end it, but this was just so disappointing, and it's not because I'm a huge stand Mark. My girl watched it with me, and she's just like, "This isn't very good. This isn't very good."
I thought you were going to say a stand Stan.
A stand, that would work too. That works. And there were just there were themes that could have been examined that weren't. These one-dimensional bad guys, these one-dimensional good guys. Like, you didn't go into any of that. And a big reason why Franny and Stu left Boulder was because they're talking about it like, oh, now the Watch is all has guns, and the new council, people are running for it, and they talk about Glenn, and through the book he's like, society will rebuild itself, and we have to determine what kind of society we want. And Stu's kind of looking around. He's like, fucking, they call him Baldy in the book. Baldy was right that society is just going back to the same shit. We're just going to do the same shit. And in 50 years, there's going to be these communities with another outbreak. And they just fucking drop the ball on so many fronts. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, why don't we go ahead and give a grade to the whole series? I don't. Maya, you can go first on this one if you want.
It started with potential and it ended badly. D-, and that's being nice. Just
I wish I could give it that.
Honestly, there were a few high points here and there, and there were a few things that were interesting enough, but the pacing was all over the place. Very slow first 5 episodes. Then they ratcheted it up, and then the last 3 episodes before the final episodes, like 6, 7, and 8, or actually 7 and 8, really was a good portion, like 30% of the book, if not more, just crammed into, an hour and 40 some minutes between the 2 episodes combined. Yeah. And we didn't get enough from a lot of the characters. You know what? Fuck it. It's an F. It's bad. It's bad.
I mean, that's where my
Don't waste your fucking time. Don't waste your fucking time with it. Read the book or watch the original miniseries. And it's sad to say because this was casted well.
Yeah.
It's bad.
I'm going to give it a D only because I like some of the performances from some of the actors. Like, it's a low D. It's like you got a half point for signing your name, so you're not an F. I want to see more from the kid who played Harold. I want to see more from the gentleman who played Larry. But yeah, and that's being, like Maya said, super generous. Super generous.
Yeah, potential and well-acted characters are not enough to save this from an F for me. Like, full on. It bored me from fucking start to finish. Like, I wish I was joking when I say that. Like, after episode 1, I was like, I hope it picks up, and it never did. So.
Yep. Yeah.
I do know that as soon as I was finished with episode 9, I immediately canceled my subscription to CBS All Access.
Same.
I almost did, but my dad's like, I still really want to watch Discovery and Below Decks. I was like, all right, we'll fucking keep it, I guess. So
yeah.
Betty, you're muted.
Sorry, I was eating my mushroom quesadilla earlier. Yeah, we're keeping CBS All Access because Jeff watches some of the shows on there. And again, I hope they bring back the Twilight Zone. I like Jordan Peele's take on the Twilight Zone. But I'm really sad. I'm disappointed. I would definitely give it a D. And very much for the same reasons that Matt did, simply because there were a couple of really good actors in there that, you know, we have not seen much of that show potential. And I hope that if they can walk away from this with good roles, that's a good thing. But the storytelling in itself, what they did to the story, just outright butchering it, you know, D's being very generous. I mean, D minus. So,
well, it's not even that they butchered the story. Like if you just watch that in and of itself, much like Gregg did, I would think the majority of people would be like, okay, like I just watched a 7-hour thing, or, you know, whatever the time running, like, okay, neat. I'm going to carry about my day and I'm not going to.
Now, I have to say, if I didn't know the book and I just came into this with no knowledge, I'd be really pissed. I mean, the way this whole thing rounded itself out, I'd be really pissed. I mean, I'm pissed as somebody who's a fan of the book, but just in general, the storytelling of it is not up to King standards. No. You know, I really feel like they took a big, nice prime roast beef and just butchered the fuck out of it and tried to put it back together with some meat glue, and it didn't work. You know what the show is to me? You know what the show meat paste. You know what the show is to me? Is the show goes, so I have this story to tell you guys. It's about this like painter in Austria. Anyway, to make a long story short, he killed thousands of Jews. That's what this fucking show is to me. It's like, whoa, back it up. What the fuck is the rest of that? Like, we can't just go to that point. That's what this show was to me. It was like there was clearly more to tell, and it just wasn't there. I don't know why I went with a Hitler joke on that, but here we are.
Because Hitler jokes are usually funny. But, you know, when they're making him look like a complete piece of shit, which he is. I'm not saying, you know, the whole killing of... You know what I mean. Damn it. Anyway.
We know what you mean, girlfriend.
But
I haven't been this disappointed since junior prom, and I'll leave it at that.
That's bad.
I never went to the prom, so.
Yeah, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
I had a better time hanging out playing basketball with my buddies.
Yeah, you definitely did. Trust me. I wish I was there with you.
All right, folks. I think that's going to do it for us today. I knew that both episodes were going to be a lengthy conversation just because there was a ton to talk about. Next week, guys, we're going to be talking about the next episode of WandaVision. But that's it. We're going to have a discussion as well. We haven't just decided on what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out when we get there. But yeah, that'll be good. Matt, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was great to meet you, Betty, and I do have to say you've been I've been listening for a hot minute, and you bring a lot to the good pickup. She's a great pickup, you know. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is? Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I'm like, what the fuck is she talking? Like, she for real? But that's what makes it great. So you're doing a great job.
There for the longest time, we were just having guests come on every week, just you know, because I felt we would have more fun conversations when it wasn't just Gregg and myself. And I like different perspectives. So that's why we would pick people like you and Dakota and you know, guys from the other shows that we're familiar with, and you know, people whose time allowed them to come on and record with us. And then once we had her on, after that first episode, I was like, I want her back. And Greg's like, I hope we can get her back soon. And then other people was like, dude, get her back on. She was great. And then the second time, I was like, Gregg, I don't know how you feel about this, but I want to make her permanent. And you're like, I'm in agreement. And so, I've loved what she's brought to the table, and it's really freshened the show up, in my opinion.
I've loved being here. I love getting to talk with you guys, and you know, none of us bullshit the other ones. You know, we share our opinions, how we feel it, and you know, we move on. Nobody's getting butt hurt, and I love it. You know, just being able to get it out there. So I'm glad you guys brought me on. Thank you.
Well, I just
It's so
wanted to
good to
say,
have you, Matt.
yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Like we're talking about one of my favorite books, so like I hit Maya up. I was like, "Can I come on?" Because like I love this book, and they look. I feel like fucking The Godfather and Godfather 1. Look what they did to my boy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And at that point, that was like 3 weeks ago. I was still kind of enjoying the show for what it was.
Mm,
It's just those last 3 episodes really tanked that show.
yeah.
It was bad. It's so
It
bad.
went from being good to being awful.
Yep.
You know what's funny is I was actually really interested because I'd seen the trailers for it and I knew it was a popular franchise, and then Betty was like, "Are we going to watch that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, I'm interested in it for sure."
I was so excited too. I'm sure y'all remember.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
Yeah, same, Betty, same.
I was so disappointed
That's
after I
funny.
was so excited. It's like finding out you're going to Disney World and your parents take you to the water
They take you
park
to
in
Knott's Berry Farm?
Kingsport. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Knott's Berry
wow.
Farm. Yeah, I've heard about that too. So it's the knockoff Disney.
When I was going between 8th and 9th grade, the teen center down the street was doing a thing where they would take a bunch of kids to a bunch of theme parks in LA. And the last destination was going to be Disneyland, while everything else was like Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm and one of the beaches there. I don't remember the name. It starts with a D, but doesn't fucking matter. And I was like, fucking Magic Mountain was it Magic Mountain? Is it Magic Mountain? It's one of the Six Flags. Yeah, it's Magic Mountain. Whatever. It was fun. Like there were rides everywhere. It was like it was superheroes and Looney Tunes. It was great. And then they were like, "All right, now we're gonna go to Knott's Berry Farm." I was like, "Cool. What's here?" The Peanuts. Got it. That's it.
Okay, we're gonna have to send you video of Tweetsy Railroads. I'm sure Maya knows what I'm talking about.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm very
she
interested
knows.
because
Yeah, I'm gonna find one of us will find video Tweetsy and send it to you because that is our broke back Disney World.
Broke back Disney World.
You're
It's
not
so
wrong.
sad.
Awesome.
You're not wrong. That's a great way to
Yeah.
a very low rent
That's funny.
Brokeback Disney World. Well, hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah, I got that
let's
quesadilla
just,
just staring me in the face.
Yeah, my dinner is ready too. We recorded it at night instead of the morning because we wanted to have Matt on.
No, thanks for having me.
Oh no,
absolutely,
always a pleasure,
anytime,
man. Always a pleasure. Where can people find you at, Matt? Since you're here, if they want to follow you on any other shows,
you can follow me, Matt Hurd, HURD, on Facebook if you so choose. I do a bi-weekly podcast called One Too Many Podcast, where it's not as structured as you guys. We just talk a bunch of bullshit. That you can find that on pretty much any app. That's pretty much it. You can find me in the realm of collectors in the chats, like shitting on Super 7.
Fuck Super 7.
Yeah, exactly, Maya. So there's that.
Awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, go give Matt a follow. Go listen to his podcast that he's on. I'm sure Matt's a great guy. You hear him on this podcast, you know how great of a speaker he is. Go give those a listen. You can make sure to follow all of. Absolutely.
I was just going to say One Too Many is fucking hilarious. I'm a little behind and need to get caught up, but the other friends that are on the show are mutual friends of mine and Matt's. Great show. Really funny. Shout out to Frogman down in Texas.
Yeah, keep warm, Frog.
Stay warm, man. Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to do my spiel that I have written down here. Make sure you follow all of us on make sure you follow all of the socials that are listed down below. I don't know why I'm reading like I can't. Jesus Christ. Check out the store on Redbubble. We have a lot of merch there.
No, we don't.
You can get... What's that?
No, we don't.
Is it not Redbubble? Did I not fix it? Am I an idiot?
Yeah.
What's the website? I'm gonna write it right now. I'm gonna write it right now. What's the website?
Teespring.
Teespring. All right. So now that I fixed this mid fucking recording, everybody should know that it's Teespring. It's Teespring that we have our merch on, which is listed down below. The link is below for that, but you can get a T-shirt, a mug, whatever. But it's the new newly drawn faces that we have, which is great.
Nice.
But that and the logo, yeah, it's. I need to get a mug as soon as I can because they don't make shirts my size, so that's unfortunate.
Hey, Teespring does. That's why we went with them. They cater to the larger gentleman or gentle lady.
Well, there we go, guys. I don't pay attention to anything Maya says. That's the lesson here. Maya talks to me, and my brain just is fucking elevator music.
I've been saying this for 3 fucking years.
It's called
this is not news to our listeners. This is not news to our listeners.
So, anyways, you can
also
find
check
me.
Hold
what are we doing? I have a mushroom quesadilla, guys.
We have the show on the YouTube channel, which you can see our faces actually talking to one another. So go check out the YouTube channel and subscribe to that. Give it a little follow, yada yada. And that's it. Okay, then Maya goes first with that, then passes it to Betty, then passes it to me. Then I end this fucking show. Maya, go.
Do it.
You can find me on Facebook under my name. Any other profiles, it's public. Anything you want to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, they're linked there. Other shows you can catch me on are on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. They're live. They're broadcast live on YouTube. You can interact with the chat. We interact back. It's every other Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on a show called Figure Banging. It's a live action figure review show, primarily Transformers. We act like a bunch of 12-year-olds, and it's a lot of fun. And then every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel on Nerd Life Syndicate, where we talk about the prior week's, all the news and pop culture entertainment that, we find relevant and entertaining. But that's all the places you can find me. What about you, Betty? Where can they find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Betty Badger Ogletree. I had to think about it for a minute. And you can find me on Twitter at Bright Betty. And after this, you can find me eating my quesadilla. Where can we find you, Greg?
That's it. Sharp Rock Geek on all socials. God damn it. Yeah, Sharp Rock Geek on all socials. That's it. And that's all with that one. I'm not on any other podcast, but I am uploading new reviews and stuff to the YouTube channel, which I need to do. I have like a list right here that I'm going to do. And if you go to the Mission Start podcast channel on YouTube, I just did a review of what game did I just do a review of? I've totally forgotten the game I did a review of. Anyway, I did a review of a game. The fuck was it? Oh my god. Wow. It's gone. Oh, Immortals Phoenix Rising. That's what it was. Immortals Phoenix Rising. There we go. I got it. It's there. I need food in my fucking gob because I haven't eaten since
you need some quesadilla.
It's currently 6 p.m. I need some quesadilla.
We all need some good grub. I've got meatloaf, mashed potatoes, green beans, and stuff waiting on me right outside.
Yeah, so again, guys, thank you for listening. Thank you so much. Watch WandaVision next week. Join us for a discussion. It's going to be great. Again, Matt, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you then.
Peace, love, and Polly-Pops.
Take care,
Bye, everybody.